Tax loopholes, Frank. So this isn't tax evasion, this is tax avoidance. So it's following the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law, and leaving it up to us to decide how much we pay. And I don't think it's a good idea. It's not a good idea. No, I don't know all the detail. I think that's been reported on. It's like one law for rich people and one law for everyone else. It doesn't seem fair, and it seems to me they should make the law much clearer, much simpler to follow, and it would be better for everyone. I should probably mention I'm a recent convert to this view. I'm not sure if you're aware, but in 2012 I had a 50% pay cut. And this is when you know you've got a tax problem. If anyone's ever had a letter through from HMRC, don't worry about that. Pop that in the recycling. They will send another letter. They're very good like that. If, on the other hand, if the Prime Minister of the country that you live in breaks off from the G20 summit in Mexico and he comes out early to do a press conference where he talks about nothing other than your personal tax affairs, that is going to be a problem. And I know, because that is what happened to this.
Can you believe it's another week? I don't know where the days are going. They just seem to pass by. But it's Thursday, and it's 7 o'clock, and I'm Stephen Englander, so we've got our live show. Now, I come on every week, and I talk about lots and lots of things, and usually it's Graham that does the research for me and gives me all these notes. I mean, I started off with 6 pages. I've now got 2 because they were rubbish. But Graham's asked me to introduce himself formally onto the show. So I'd like to introduce Graham Booth, my faithful toilet seat warmer, and I'd like to say hello. Hello, Graham. Thank you for joining me today. Should we start with the quote of the day?
I'd love that, yes, yeah. Let's just get that out of the way,
let's get it out of the way.
Okay. Oh, let me pop it up for you then, because I've got it all ready to go. There
you can't remember, it's a simple line.
Sorry, did you want me to memorise the script that you were changing relentlessly? You deleted half of it. But...
Well, it was just rubbish. You know, our audience are not stupid.
Right. Try to be like the turtle, at ease in your own shell. And that's Bill Copeland.
You didn't mention the Frisbee.
Frisbee? I
had to tell Graham the difference between a turtle and a Frisbee. No, it's true. Yeah, I think that's a good note. Yeah, I think that's very true. If you're not comfortable with who you are and what you're doing, a lot of businesses are not very, a lot of business owners, they're not very comfortable in some of the things they've got to do. And I always say, look, do what you need to do. Don't break the law. Don't be immoral. But, you know, jump into it. Do what you need to do. I think that's what I take from that.
Quote of the week just worked. It worked.
Yeah, it always works. It is a good quote. That I know that wasn't your intention because you didn't understand the quote. We were talking about. Well, we weren't talking about it. It's just that there's a couple of people that walked in the room and we were thinking about arseholes. Oh, Hayden, Mr. iPhone you before. What did you sort out his problem?
Oh yes, yeah.
It was the website. This guy's got a website, and the web designer's left him in a bit of a pickle because he's just gone. So the client can't get into the website at all. So Hayden's designing him a brand new one because the website was a bit crappy anyway. But it just shows you it's a bit like Bitcoin, isn't it? You lose the password, you've lost everything. So do look after your websites, no matter what your web designers say. Keep a log of all the passwords and make sure that access is going as it should do, because it can be quite nasty that if you've got a decent website and it's sort of bringing in business and money for you, and somebody else is sort of bugging it up for you. You can't get in. You've got to get a whole new website going then, and it's not funny. But I suppose it's a good intro for an arsehole, isn't it? But the reason I brought it up is because a little while ago I actually read a book called "What Is an Arsehole." It was actually written by an Oxford professor. I can't remember his name. It's so rude. I hate that, but I can't remember his name. But I did enjoy the book, and I was reading the first chapter, and they were saying, an arsehole, it's not somebody that's like Hitler or a murderer, but they don't half get your blood boiling, don't you? You can always tell you've been around an arsehole because you want to bang your head into a wall and scream. So I was quite interested. What is an arsehole? And I read the first chapter, and I'm thinking, I do that. That's me. you know, and I'm thinking, oh, at the end of the first chapter, I'm thinking, I'm an arsehole. You don't agree with that, do you?
Do you know what? I do like you, despite your constant attempts to force me into the other way. But I do like you, yeah.
If you want to go the other way, Graham.
No, I don't know.
You just said, you know. Anyway, but when I started this second chapter, it went on to say, if you act in any of these ways, it's not that you're an arsehole, you're just a victim of an arsehole. So it's like the guy that takes up 2 parking spaces. It's like this entitlement to have more than they should be having, and encroaches on you. So it's not someone that's going to kill you, but he's someone that drives you up the wall. And it's about entitlement, isn't it? Anyway, once I'd realised that I wasn't an arsehole, I mean, I might be, but by the definition of that book, then I sort of like thought, well, you know what? I don't need to read anymore. Now I've got a definition of an arsehole. It's someone with an expanded entitlement and doesn't quite live up to it. And, you know, I'm only maybe a semi-arsehole. So does that sort of answer that little question?
I see we're now cursing on the show, Stephen. Is that a thing now then?
Well, I also, you know, I'm always looking to how you can make lots and lots of money. So I used to read lots of self-help books, you know, thinking, how do I make loads of money? And I've come to the conclusion that the best way is to write a self-help book. And I have actually, do you know, I've actually written a book. I've written a couple, but I've actually got a book on Kindle called Get the Business Edge. And nobody ever buys it because I don't think they know it's there. But without blowing my own trumpet, I think it's actually quite good, because I go through all sorts of marketing stuff and all sorts of bookkeeping stuff and accounting stuff. I'm rude about a few solicitors and judges and things like that. I'm probably rude about people in a lot of professions, but you know, it's just fun, isn't it? And I've got even live examples of all sorts of things. So if you want to go to Kindle and buy it, then great. But if you're too much of a cheapskate, then just let me know and I'll give you a free copy. So I'm never going to make any money out of my book, but at least I can say I've written a book. The interesting thing about writing books is that, and everybody should do it. Everybody should, even if you're not very good at writing, maybe get a copywriter or somebody, but to become an expert in a field gives you a bit of status, and it helps promote your own business. And that's at the end of the day why I wrote it. You know, I never thought I'd actually earn any money out of it, but it's always good. It's always good to have that even if it's it's not quite 100% the truth, to be a bit of an expert in your field. And what better way than blogging or writing a book or something? And there's plenty of people out there that write it for you, but you can put your name on it. Better out there than not. What we were talking about before, we were talking about the loan charges, weren't we? That's been all over the papers.
And I'll be honest, it was trending on Twitter along with HMRC and all this, and people were losing their minds. And I came in and just asked you because I don't understand it.
No.
I don't know what's going on. I know it's why you played Jimmy at the start, but I really genuinely don't understand it.
Well, it's what it is people are up in arms because they're having to pay an incredible amount. Some people, not many, and it doesn't really affect a lot of the client base and the type of people that are in business, so to speak. But it is interesting to know, because when you take a loan out of a company, it's potentially taxable. Now, if you're a director of a company, or what is deemed to be a director, and you borrow money for that company, if you've not paid that money back within 9 months of the end of the period, it used to be that you had to pay 25% of the total amount still outstanding at that time, which is a lot more than tax and the normal income tax. But nowadays it's 32.5%. So it's a massive amount of money to be paying out. So the thing is, make sure that your sort of director's loan account is balanced up, because you can end up paying an awful lot of money. Now, if you're not a director and you borrow money from your company, there could be what they call a benefit in kind. So if you borrow, say, £10,000 from the company, for argument's sake, sorry, 10,000 is okay, but let's say you borrow 20,000. And that is given at you at, say, 2% interest, but the going rate of interest is 8%, then you'll be taxed on the difference between the two. So you'd be taxed on the 6% as a benefit, if that makes sense to you.
I've got to ask, is this related to, you? Like, sometimes if you're in work, you might ask for like a month's wages in advance?
No, as long as you pay it back.
But is the law that allows this to happen the same as the law that allows you to get wages in advance? Is it?
No,
Is it related? No, is it totally different?
Well, effectively, it's a benefit in kind, but it's not long enough and it's not enough. It's got to be a minimum amount of money and it's got to be outstanding for a certain amount of time.
Okay.
It's got to be a proper loan that you
Right.
You can document it as a loan, but it's not so much of a worry because most people, if they get a loan for under 10 grand, it doesn't really come into the system. But it's designed to take the benefit as a taxable benefit. So sometimes you lend employees money and you don't charge them any interest. Now, if that is over the qualifying amounts and for the qualifying time, then you'll pay tax on the benefit, and the benefit is interest-free. So if the going rate of interest is 8% and you're getting a loan at no interest, you'll only pay tax on the 8% interest, not on the full amount. So benefit in kind loan repayments is different to what's all over the papers. What's all over the papers at the moment is more to do with the IR35 rules. That there's been IR35 rules is a set of rules that have come into place to put contractors, subcontractors, back into the tax bracket. And what a lot do is that to comply, they trade through an umbrella company, which I'm not a big fan of, and I'm not sure.
I've honestly only had.
In real terms, it's a pretend employment.
Yeah, I've only had terrible experiences with them.
Well,
really bad. I hated every moment
Well,
of dealing
probably
with them.
because it was a new sensation for you that you actually had to pay any tax.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Is that not true? Well, tell me about your tax history.
No. Why are we going into that? Is that the conversation you were on?
I just wondered why you get embarrassed when we mention tax. It's okay. I understand. I understand. Not everyone pays it. You know.
Will you stop trying to drop me in it?
I wouldn't drop you in it.
You just no, because I know that I'm all right. But you just
do I make you feel guilty?
No, you don't. But it's like you're desperate
because
for me to get a knock on the door.
You're not contributing to society.
You're just constantly alluding to me.
I am
being some
talking
sort of
about IR35 and umbrella companies. But the umbrella companies I'm sort of talking about. So what happens is that either deliberately people take their salary as a loan, because obviously you don't pay tax on loans, and then they get surprised when HMRC are suddenly knocking on the door saying, hang on a minute, this is not a loan, this is what we call disguised remuneration. So you're pretending it's a loan, so it stays in the balance sheet forever, and you think you've got away with it. And then people are up in arms because they're saying, well, the HMRC should have told us about this. They shouldn't have allowed it last year and then changed the rules later on. But the truth is, HMRC never sort of agreed that was an acceptable scheme. So just be wary. And there's been a few umbrella companies and a few advisors advising people to do this or just doing it without people noticing. It's a bit like we were talking about last week. Don't always listen to advice. Just verify it.
Yes.
And it goes against the spirit of tax avoidance, because tax avoidance isn't that, I thought it was a good scheme. The HMRC have got to approve it. Now let's be realistic. If you're taking money from the government, if you're taking money and as a loan and pretending it's wages or the other way around, then it's not in the spirit of tax avoidance.
You know what? I've got a really good example of this in the realm of like expert advice and who you should and shouldn't listen to.
Yeah.
You know, say there was an accountant who owned an accountancy firm that keeps giving nods to camera that I'm avoiding tax. They might listen to that and they might run me through the mill investigating me. Because they'd be like, he knows what he's talking about, that fella there.
Do you think HMRC are interested in your tax bill?
No, I don't at all. They're not interested.
That's where you're going wrong. Because when I spoke to you know some people when they think no one cares, no one's interested in me or in anything I do, trust me, HMRC are. you know. So, sorry, you keep going on about this. Obviously a problem here. It's all right. I'll speak to you after the show properly. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm going to need the brown stuff team, man, definitely.
But does that disguised remuneration, does that sort of clear that up? Because you understand it, everybody else will.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
I do appreciate.
Right. But
your
if anybody does think they've got problems with that's the time to speak to me is now. The time to speak to your accountant is now. But then again, if you're in that situation because your accountant has advised it, then maybe you shouldn't be speaking to that accountant. But it is a problem. It's quite an onerous thing. But the idea is, don't pretend something's a loan if it's really your wages. You can look at other tax planning techniques, but that's a pretty blatant one. And there's no point screaming that you've not got away, you didn't know, because that's not a defence. But HMRC will take into personal circumstances. They're not out to screw everybody. Just you, Graham. So, but you know what was interesting as well. Just coming away from that, the Britcoin. We've got Bitcoin.
Yes, I've heard about this actually.
Well, they're looking at bringing in a Britcoin that is an electronic version of UK currency.
Is this going to? So this will be tied to the pound then?
Well, this will be governed by the Bank of England. So they're putting together a task force now to investigate it further. But I think it's quite a good idea. I've never liked the idea that money is an investment in its own right. It should be a means to transact. And when you think about it now, we are transacting all the time online. I mean, what's the difference between transferring money electronically and having a Britcoin? It's just a new name for technology that's already there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the idea with Bitcoin and Ethereum and Doge and all that, people like the fact that governments aren't involved.
Doge, is that D-O-G-E?
Yes, sir.
Do you know, I was pronouncing it doggy. I was wondering what
isn't
that the one with Elon Musk and thing?
Yeah. The doggy and Doge, that's kind of.
Oh, so it's not just me.
No, that's part of the meme. Yeah.
Sorry, what were you saying?
But it's the fact that governments aren't involved with it that people liked about it.
Yeah.
Which at the end of the day,
I don't know. I'd feel far more secure.
Really?
Transacting in Bitcoin if the government was behind it. At the moment, it's at the whims of people.
Well, yeah and no. I mean, all currency has a value. All currency's value is against what it's traded against.
I just think if governments don't operate currency, I think you're putting power into the hands of gangsters and drug dealers.
Well, I would argue the exact opposite.
Exactly, and we're going back to what we were talking about before, weren't we? So, what have you put here now? New Netflix subscriptions are down. Oh, that's good. But it's not good, is it?
Why not?
But, well, at first we had Netflix and they had loads of great TV shows, and I'm a big fan of Netflix. But now that you've got Disney and Prime and HBO, it's you're gonna pay less to Netflix by a little bit, but you're gonna have to subscribe to all these channels because Netflix have got less on it.
How many things do you subscribe to? How many? Yeah. Do you even know?
Well, I still subscribe to Netflix.
Same. Yeah.
And I've got Disney.
Same.
No, it's not for the kids. It's not for grandchildren.
I don't know why you're jumping in so quickly to tell me that. But that's okay.
It's for me.
Yeah,
because it's got all the Marvel stuff on it.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I was watching Winter Falcon. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
It's okay.
And I liked WandaVision. That was good.
WandaVision was fantastic.
Yeah.
It is nice having all the Marvel movies.
It is.
Because you don't have to think.
Well, that's it. But there'll be people that now, if you like football, you have to subscribe to the football channel. If you like this, you've got to subscribe to that. So you'll end up paying a lot more because whereas Netflix had everything, now you're going to have 10 different subscriptions to get everything.
Do you think it's sustainable?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think the free market will decide, or do you think?
I think the free market will decide. Yeah, I think. But you never know what's going to go on. I mean, it's just.
So the free market's good enough for your TV, but not everything else. Then. Yeah.
No. Well, I think free market's good for most things, as long as it's watched, so that unscrupulous people. It's like this football thing. I don't know very much about football. I'm not a big football fan. In fact, I'm probably going to make myself an absolute idiot now. But there's been some stuff going on with is it the Super League?
Yeah, there was a European Super League that formed, and
right.
6 British teams joined, such as Man. Yeah. Well, Liverpool. Did Man City join?
Man City were the last.
I think last time I checked, they last to join, first to leave. So when I looked at this, they must have.
Well, I know there's a lot of passionate stuff going on, but all I can see from it is that you've got these people that put billions into the game, and people are shouting that they should have a say in what goes on.
Yeah.
So you've got some billionaire investors that put fortunes in, but Dave at the local pub thinks he should have a say in how the club's run.
Yeah.
That seems a bit odd to me. And I was told the other day that, you know, all these smaller league teams, these you know, they're not going to have a chance because they won't have the funding to go, and that the bigger teams should fund them as well. And I can't help thinking of Tesco and Asda funding the local shop because they're not big enough or strong enough to support themselves. It's after all, it's football might be a passion for a lot of people, but ultimately it is a business.
Of course it is, and it
needs to be run like a business.
I think some of the criticisms levelled against it are reasonable, but there's also it washes over the benefits. Like, you know, when Manchester City moved to East Manchester, they brought quite literally thousands of jobs. They renovated the whole area.
Yeah, but that was a commercial thing. That was a business.
So it's like, oh, well, we'll take the benefits. We'll take the big Asda. We'll take the McDonald's that you've put there. We'll take the fact that you fixed the roads and everything like that. But we want to decide the things we don't like. Oh, well, you're just evil, dirty capitalists.
So you're pro this decision?
No, I'm pro them having the choice.
Yeah.
I also completely stand by fans' right to protest. Yeah. And if the
now that's what I don't understand. Fans' right to protest because they're customers. Yeah. They buy the tickets. They do what they do. A lot of the time they're watching it on TV for free, but that doesn't mean, you see, I'm a fan of, like we were talking about Marvel comics before, and I buy into that. But does that give me a right to then say, you know, you run it like this? This is what I'm telling you to do.
No. People don't have a right to do that, but they've got every right to say, "I'm not going to buy your product."
Well, they've got that, and that's a commercial thing. So then the big football, then whoever's selling it, if the sales drop, then like any business, they go ahead and do something about it.
I think that's partly what happened with the Super League. They knew people would just in droves just not turn up.
Right.
I think that's what I think they knew that would happen,
and that's a decision they've made on a commercial basis.
I assume so. I mean, I'm not huge in the game and all that.
No.
But
no.
You know, what do your clients come in here and start dictating?
Well, actually, you know, something. Football is one of those areas that I'm just not interested in. I'm interested in fact, members of staff watching this show will say Stephen's talking about football, but I'm not. I'm talking about the business sort of element of it.
It's great we've devoted so much of the show to it.
I don't know much about football, but it just seemed to me, and this is what I was trying to understand. It seems to me that football is a commercial venture. It's not a social enterprise.
No.
And as such, I don't understand why fans think that they should have a share in running that business. And in the same way, that'd be nice if they do community-spirited things, and it would be nice if they supported smaller teams. But whether they should be forced to do that, I'm not quite sure. Maybe there'll be an incentive. You know what? Come and join our little whatever, and the benefit to the big football teams are that they can maybe look for talent that they can push through into their own ranks. I don't know how it all works.
Look, man, lots and lots of people go to Tesco. They choose to go to Tesco. Tesco is the biggest. Yeah. Some people in a community choose to go to the corner shop and support them. They know they might pay more, but they like the owners and all that. Yeah. And it's exactly the same with football clubs.
Well, it's with a lot of small businesses, when I talk all the time, they've got to establish their own brand, their own identity. They've got to fight back against the bigger firms, and maybe this will be a push that the smaller football teams need in order to start being self-sustaining like any business and find their own niche and their own fans. It must be easier for a smaller football club to find fans than it is, because they've already got a brand. You know, the brand is often in their name, but it's then a sort of like a corner shop to establish a brand.
Did you see the fella from Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, and one of the comedians from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia? They've just bought a football club. Which club did they buy? Wrexham, yeah.
Oh,
they've just and that's starting slowly to become more of a thing.
That's near Wales, near Chester.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I think I've got some clients in Wrexham. Yeah, I have. Okay, but speaking about big guys, you know, big business, you've got all the techs going on with Mr. Boris and Mr. Dyson.
Ooh.
That's interesting, isn't it?
It's been really juicy, yeah. Where have you been following it?
Not really, because I think when it comes to big business, big politics, my attitude is always a form of, you know, old boys network and whatever. Yeah. Sometimes I think I do think that you know, when you're in a time of a pandemic, when no one knows what to do and they're all panicking, that maybe you go to the established people that you think can deliver and deliver quickly and deliver well.
If we just bring it back to the actual story, then it's been released text messages between Boris Johnson and Mr. Dyson. What's his first name? I can't remember. But the Dyson fella, the one that went to Singapore, and it's essentially like a bit of a tax conversation, and then, but we need the ventilators.
We do,
and because we were desperate.
In real life, though, they give these firms and they give innovation and they give all this massive grants and massive tax breaks. So so it's not like it doesn't go on all the time.
No,
and perhaps if we had more time, the job could have been put out to tender, or other people could have joined in this. But I think the fact that it went through a private text message between the Prime Minister and a leading industrialist, I think is what's caught the media eye. But this type of thing goes on all the time, and I think sometimes it needs to go on. I think sometimes conversations in private need to be in private to explore ideas, rather than come out and say this. It's like you were saying before about exploring ways of not paying tax, and just because you were talking about that doesn't mean to say that you're doing that, is it? You're not doing anything wrong.
No, I'm not doing anything wrong. We were just discussing hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Well,
in actual fact, we weren't. I'm just winding Graham up because, he's a very, very straight person. He would never deviate from the path anyway.
You see, that's just more suspicious now.
No, I'm not talking about your sexual orientation. I'm talking about paying tax, and I know that's you don't put a step wrong in anything.
Yeah, that's just. Oh.
What about cigarettes? I don't smoke. I don't drink. Don't smoke. Don't watch football. I don't do anything, do I? I'm so boring.
No, I guess you don't.
No. Cigarettes, though, nicotine.
Well, the interesting thing with that story is in America, they are looking at legislation right now to remove enough nicotine from cigarettes so that they are no longer addictive.
Right.
So they're going to be almost pointless, really. And I just popped it in because I thought it was an interesting little
well, they'll still have lots of the poison in it, though. There'll be still lots of ways cigarettes can poison you.
It'll be nice and dirty still, I'm sure.
Yeah. Do you know what comes to mind, though? If they take the nicotine out, is it still a cigarette?
That's a very good question.
And if it isn't a cigarette, will it be taxed like a cigarette? Because something like 90% of the price of a cigarette is in some form of VAT or duty.
And for example, if you go in Holland and Barrett, you can buy that bag of flour mix that you can smoke. If you're trying to quit smoking, they sell you like dried flowers.
Flowers or flour?
Flowers.
Like the white powder I saw you smoking before. No, is that a different cigarette?
That was my other thing.
Yeah.
No, but that is very, very cheap because it isn't nicotine and it's not a tobacco product. So,
but would it be taxed like that? I wonder what the government will have to say about that. Oh, it's interesting. I suppose if they can make a cigarette without nicotine and it's not really a cigarette anymore, how's the government going to cope with that?
If the government was fair and honest and true,
which they are,
then
red, white, and blue.
Yes. Yep. Then the cost of cigarettes would go down by about 90%.
Yeah.
The day they did it.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. It's like petrol, isn't it? They've just put petrol up as well now.
Yes, they have. Yeah.
So talking about being fair, but they have kept it down for a while.
I've even got a title to go. Fuel prices going up. It has been down for a long, long time. Yeah. That's one of the two things that the Tories focus on: are fuel prices and alcohol.
But if we're going towards hydrogen fuel and gas and electric and all that type of thing, maybe it won't affect us as much.
That's a long way off.
Is it? More and more people are driving electric cars.
I might see those days.
Yeah, I won't. Yeah, I get it. Touche, my friend. So, yeah, you just reminded me, we did talk about what's on our side, didn't we? So, yeah. And we did talk about the football thing, didn't we? Yeah. Product placement.
Yeah.
We were talking about that, weren't we? We have lots of discussions off camera, and it helps us decide what we're going to talk about. And Graham does fill me in on all the things.
And then you just randomly jump between them all, and I'm like, and product placement, you completely removed that from the notes, so.
Yeah. No, well product placement,
it's over there on the floor.
Have you noticed sometimes...
He does this. Look, this is what he does to me. He goes, no, like that.
I don't see your point. Yeah. So product placement, it's on like, and I used to see on Coronation Street and stuff like that, it used to have a little PP on the beginning, and it suddenly occurred to me that was product placement, where they put in a pack of Smarties, and they don't advertise it. You just see somebody eating it. So you want a pack of Smarties.
What's going to happen now is, say, 10 years from now, Smarties change the name, and you're watching a rerun of Coronation Street, that pack of Smarties will have changed into the new name.
Right.
That's what they're doing.
So they're going to go back and change all the old videos and stuff.
They're editing history.
I quite like that sometimes. You know, when you see a really old program, you see a brand that you remember from your childhood, but it's no longer around. I thought that's quite nice.
Well, they're going to... Well, I really like when things are changed.
So Topic will now go back and they'll call it Sneakers, Sneakers bar. Was that Topic?
You're thinking of Marathons.
Marathon, sorry. Yeah. So Marathon it will be a Sneakers bar.
But this is, so if anyone is looking to advertise, this is the future. This is where you need to get in right now. In these running ads where you can it'll update and everything.
So it's really, you've got the ad running forever. That is so clever.
Yeah. I mean every single thing that comes out that you see now has been digitally manipulated in some way.
Right.
They're saying that this is new technology. It's not. It's just a new trend.
Yeah.
They're going back and changing everything.
So if we're called now Accounts Direct and you're walking on EastEnders and you see a plaque saying Accounts Direct, in 10 years' time, if we've changed our name to super accountants, then that sign would change.
It would change
from 10 years ago.
That's the plan, yeah.
Wow.
And they're actually implementing things where it'll do that. So there'll just be like a green cross there when they film it, so that they'll not be able to just change it very easily.
There used to be a sort of school of thought that you say, what's the worst job in the world? And it's like working for Wikipedia. Yeah. And someone, a celebrity dies, and you've got to go back and start changing all the names and the past tense from, is to was, and all that type of thing.
That is a sad job.
It is. Can you imagine doing that? Yeah. Well, it's there.
I'm all right.
What you wanted
I'm sad enough here, thank you.
You wanted me to mention Denise Coates, who's 53.
Oh, we're rolling through everything now.
Yeah, she trained as an accountant.
Yes.
And she's the biggest paid boss in the country.
The reason that's
the highest paid, not the biggest. 469 million.
In 1 year.
469.
That's why I was trying to inspire you. If you work hard and listen, maybe you can be like Denise Coates eventually.
If I listened, my head would just honestly. Did you see? There's a TikTok video going around, and I thought it was quite funny. Yes, I watch TikTok sometimes. We were looking at it as an advertising media.
But, that was a fun night.
Yeah, but there was what was it? This guy going round asking people questions, Americans, because English people wouldn't fall for this, but asking the question, like, I think he asked somebody where Brazil was, and they thought it was Europe, and they're coming out with all stuff like that, and it's like, how thick are people? They were saying, what was the capital of France? Or where was Paris? That's right. Where was Paris, France? Texas. You get answers like that.
Yeah. Kirsty's just said, "Gray, I'm blushing." Apparently,
you are.
Apparently, I'm blushing.
You are. It's not blushing, isn't it? You're sweating a lot of the thought of paying some tax. It is.
It's because you own an accountancy firm, and you keep making jokes about it, and eventually something's going to stick. And
let's go with jokes then.
Yeah.
But on that note, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight, and I hope you enjoyed the show. And we'll have lots of, if as well as asking me any questions about tax or business or anything like that, if you feel you've got a nice insult for Graham, please let me know. If you want to sort of phone into the show and you want to have your say, please do that. And I'll be here next week with a thrilling episode of our live show. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe so you get the alerts. So good night and thank you.